Okay. Okay. The questions are going to be addressed at the end of the session, but please do it during all the session. You can write down all the question in the chat, and at the end we will tell you that we will ask this question to our speakers directly. Today, well, what is today's topic? We are going to talk about standardizing the Hyperloop and how it fits within the landscape of contemporary modes of transport. We are going to be really focused on the part of infrastructure. That is sometimes something that we don't talk a lot, and it's as important as the Hyperloop concept as a capsule. What is the purpose of this event? We want to debate on the main challenges in Hyperloop standardization. We want to propose and share some solutions and to deepen aspects such as infrastructure in Hyperloop and its social impact. And well, we have with us 3 experts in this field that can help us in achieving some conclusion about these topics. Today's speakers, we have the pleasure to have here Sander from Volkswagen, the team lead product management. We have also Geren from NEN, the consultant industry and safety at NEN, and also we have Ben from Strucon, business line manager, signaling and power at Strucon. So well, it's really nice and it's a pleasure to have the 3 of them here. Welcome, of course, to our speakers. It's really nice to have some big companies that wants to debate and wants to be part of the ESW this year. So again, thank you for the attendance, and we are going to start the debate. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. 1 second. Here. Okay. Right now, I'm going to spotlight of all of our speakers, so you can see all of them better. Okay. So the first question that we would like to know, or that we want to debate with you, is that do you think that we give enough importance to the infrastructure part when we are talking about developing Hyperloop? I don't know if maybe you, Jeren, you want to start with this question.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. I hope you're not hearing too much background noise, but I can start. So your question was if Hyperloop is giving enough importance for the infrastructure side. And I think, well, Hyperloop development is still in a very early stage, and priority should be given to agree internationally on how infrastructure in general should look like in order to ensure interoperability and safety. Think about tube alignment, monitoring and treatment, construction and maintenance. And at the same time, you should already look at how you could overcome certain obstacles towards building the infrastructure within the landscape. In the Netherlands, every square centimeter has a designation. How do you work around that, etc. So I think these are very important things to look at. And there are also companies which are working on that right now. And yeah, I think it's important to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Maybe someone else wants to react on it.
Yeah, Jeroen, I fully agree with you. And maybe to add something on that is that, you know, it's such a big concept actually, and it's such an early stage of development, which is good. And it's good that a lot of smart heads are on this concept to make it a success. But somewhere you need to find a way where you could scale up on a larger volume. Yeah, and I think you need governments, local governments on that to make really a European network and make it a success.
I think to react on that, it gives actually a unique opportunity to prevent some mistakes which may have happened with rail, for example. You had a lot of different governance structures or whatever you call it in terms of rail. And right now you have a situation where we're working many of dozens of years and still the process is not complete on interoperability between different countries. Think if you take the train to Belgium, you still need to change locomotive. even much more in maybe the Baltic states, for example. These are all mistakes that you can prevent by thinking about it ahead. Think if a tube from country A goes to country B and the tube diameters are different. Yeah, this would not be a good idea. So in this case, yeah, you really have to focus on your infrastructure, because otherwise you make the idea of Hyperloop with fast, medium range travels a lot more difficult.
So going back to the question to add from my side, I would strongly say that not enough attendance is being given to the infrastructure, because I know two examples of Hyperloop infrastructure which I have visited by myself. One was at SpaceX, where it's just 1 mile of tube, or even a kilometer, I believe, which is just an empty tube, with only a bit of steel in it. And the other tube I know is the one which is near to the Technical University in Delft, near to Sport en Cultuur, which is very, very high tech, and they're not the same size. The one is high tech, the other is just a simple tube. So one thing is for sure, they will not work to each other. So they are completely different. The only thing is they're both tubes. So I think much more attention should be given. And if you look to the initiatives which I've seen the last couple of years, they very well range from being driven by the vehicle itself, or as the new modern tubes, the infrastructure will make sure that the pod will manage itself. So there should be much more attendance, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. We can see that sometimes even the teams, we are really focused on developing the capsule itself, how are we going to travel, but sometimes we don't really develop, well, how this is going to fit in an infrastructure, is this viable? So for sure, and it's nice that we are starting giving importance to something as important as is the infrastructure.
I think even you will prove it yourself in the coming Hyperloop week at Sandel's premises, because you will see 3, 4, 5 different types of infrastructure, I guess. Hanging, magnetic levitation, no levitation. So you will see 5 different solutions, and then we're just in the startup, So it's a nice topic.
Yeah, the competition is what it is. Everybody is saying this is what I believe, and I think that is really nice. And I think that the important topic that you have came up while discussing is about the issue of connecting continents, countries. Do you think, or how complex can it be standardizing Hyperloop between countries? Is more a technical thing, or is a political stuff which is going to be difficult to connect?
Yeah, I think we only have to look to the ERTMS systems, for instance. It's actually already obsolete, but it's being introduced new in the Netherlands, which is good, but it's slightly diverse from how it's implemented in other countries among us. The same counts for the power supply. So I think standardization is a big challenge. It's normal and it's common that you in product development you see a variety of formats arise. But I think it's the big big opportunity as a concept community, as you are here today and in the event later on this year, to make a way forward and define how to proceed. I think that's a way to overcome these local hurdles in terms of standardization and formalization.
And really the key, like how earlier you start with it, how more likely you are to reach some form of consensus and actually get it done right. Unlike rail, where you started too late.
Yeah, fully agree. Success cases are the internet, telecoms, IoT. That's all very standardized, and yeah, standardization is extremely implemented until the dirtiest details, so to say. So that's also something you could learn from, and how to translate those lessons learned into the concept or concepts you will see, and yeah, distillate one successful, feasible way forwards.
I think also one constraint for a lot of innovations can be legislation. And actually legislation can move very slow to allow certain innovations to really fully develop. And if you can prove together that you can do things safely, it will, in terms of standardization, it will help this legislator to maybe approve things much faster. So it's also an important thing to keep in mind.
You also mentioned about the political part. So I also think the question is how eager you are to win this battle, and that's what Elon Musk, I think, did perfectly. You know, with the use of student teams, just say, I want this very, very bad, and I'll just make a competition out of it. So how eager you are to win, and the same is for the political grounds, I guess. How important it is to get from A to B on a way which is being served the best by Hyperloop technology. That's the political will. That's about how quick you want to, or how fast you want to move people around. That's one thing. But what I also hear a little bit, and I fully agree with what Sander just said. If you look to IoT, if you look to telecoms, data communication, the internet, how quick these things grew, then we could learn from that. And if you really need it, it will develop. So start where the need is high, I would say. And for Hyperloop, I'm still not sure. Is it in the Middle East, where you have a lot of distances, 500 kilometers, where you don't have a lot of environmental or a lot of construction in between? Is it in the west side of America? I don't know where it is. So we have to find out where the will is to good. And the last thing is, I also agree that we really need the Hyperloop also for the new technology which it brings, because we need that in the current rail systems. We need new technology. So these are all items which I think are very important to follow up in making Hyperloop a success.
Yeah, other thing that personally I think it's important is when you are governing a country and you say, is this a long-term vision? Do I believe in that? Do I think that this is feasible? I want to invest in that. And talking about investment, we have been talking about the importance of political, of technical aspect, but economical aspect also a key part of implementing Hyperloop in a feasible way. And how we can efficiently meet the economic aspect, or making the infrastructure economically viable, and also technical viable, that the Hyperloop is as efficient as possible with an economical infrastructure. Do you think that that is possible? I don't know, Ben, if you want to start with this question.
Sure, I find it a very difficult question to answer. What I was thinking on is just you need to have the belief, and like with the Apollo putting a man on the moon, winning from Russia, you know, these things are so much more important, because if you don't have that goal somewhere, you will lose into the topics which we just discussed: technical interfaces, legislation, countrywide differences. So I think it all starts with a goal. Why do we want to have? And I think the goal is right in front of us, because we can't continue traveling the way we did with all the flying. You know, and also if you go to the high density cities. I was in Paris a couple of weeks ago, and I was fully surprised how the bikes threw the cars outside of Paris. You know, because it proves that the current way of transportation is not the right way of transportation anymore. You need to go to more environmental friendly solutions. Stop flying, stop using your car for 2 kilometers. I don't think the Hyperloop is a good example for the Paris situation. They have the metro over there, but it's the same idea. It's also a vehicle in the tube. So, and we have to expand that to 500 kilometers range. And so I believe the answer is over there.
Yeah, maybe to add on that, and I agree with it very much. But if you look at terms of infrastructure in a broader perspective, also stations, etc., I think you should not focus purely on economic feasibility, because you also have to be inclusive. I think a lot of, let's be honest, the coming years, subsidies will be very much needed to innovate the Hyperloop systems. And if you kind of focus purely on economic feasibility, you start to have the risk of excluding certain people. Think maybe about accessibility for people in wheelchair or whatever. And this might be more difficult than to get these subsidies if you have such a narrow mind in developing the infrastructure.
Okay, I don't know if Sander, you want to say something, or you agree in general with lines?
Yeah, a lot of words are already spoken indeed, and I agree very much with it. I think it comes down that to the fact that we need other mass transport mode over the current modes, just for the sake for the ecological part of the positive sides of this concept. So if we look through the economical side or spectrum today, then it might be a challenge to build up an European Hyperloop network. But if you look at it from another perspective, for the coming 50 years, well, that's another way to look at a term of economically. Yeah, because going on this way has a downside in terms of what we have seen in the news by stormy weather, those kind of that's also something we need to take into account.
Yeah, for sure. At the end, Hyperloop, we always say that it's something about also social responsibility, making a mode of transport completely ecological. But at the end, if it's not economically viable, sometimes it's really difficult to make this happen. And another thing that sometimes we don't talk about is that when we are talking about infrastructure, are we talking only about the tube itself, or are we talking about important things such as maybe Hyperloop stations? I don't know, something you want to start?
Yeah, if I may to respond to that, I think you need to go beyond only the tubes. So if you really want to have a competitive mode, then you need to integrate with existing climate-friendly modes, so to say. Yeah, so stations are an important part in this concept, to my opinion.
I think it's an interesting topic. Where does Hyperloop start? So it keeps me busy for several years already, because I think there are situations where you are willing to travel with another modality. You're willing to travel to Hyperloop station and go from there to Paris or wherever you want to go. But also, I believe that it should connect as much as possible to the stations we have right now, because nobody wants to travel to a Hyperloop station 20 kilometers out of Paris from my city, Amsterdam, and then start in Lelystad, which is approximately 20-30 kilometers from Amsterdam, for the people who don't know. So I think the integration with the existing infrastructure we have is really, really crucial. And it would be my strong preference to take that into account and to see how to integrate Hyperloop technology from the existing stations we already have, like Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and we're talking from Netherlands right now. Of course, we can call Vienna, we can call any station you want, modern station. And I do believe we can integrate Hyperloop technology for the first 20 miles and then go further on into the tube. So, but okay, that's my belief. So I think it will help if you can start from inside the city to inside another city.
Yes, I have not much to add to that. It will certainly make it the attractivity of a Hyperloop system really depends on how it's connected. I also, to be honest, I still fly a lot, and if I fly to London, I always I have to consider that if I pick the wrong airport, I still have to travel 1 hour by train or 2 hours by bus, and this is not very attractive.
In Valencia, we don't have that problem.
Start using Eurostar, Jeroen.
Yeah. It's wonderful. I was waiting for it for so many years, and now it's there.
Yeah.
But from the other side, Ben and Jeroen, when you were talking, the thought came up to me that, hey, why don't we use a part of Schiphol, as Hyperloop could be a potential competitor of the flight modality mode. Then there is a beautiful infrastructure. There's already a station. There's a train, quite a good connection to a central point. And maybe other airports among Europe are that flexible as well. So maybe there's already a big opportunity to use already existing infrastructure, including stations.
This will certainly help the economic feasibility of things.
Yeah.
Everything comes back to economic. One of the questions that is from Niels, from the general public, is correlated with standardization Hyperloop and what everything we have been talking about, and is, in what way could the student teams contribute to the standardization of infrastructure aspects of Hyperloop? How do you think that we as teams can contribute, also in collaboration maybe with companies, in this standardization? Jeroen, I don't know if you want to start.
Sure. I think first thing to say here is that I think it's really great that you already start thinking about it. Standardization community in general, and especially also in mobility, it relies a lot on people who are going to retire very soon. And there's going to be very much needed a new generation of students or ex-students who are going to work their first year in companies and going to contribute to the standardization. So I think this is the without actually contributing directly, already start thinking about it and how to do it. It already helps a lot, because when you start your careers, you will also include standardization, perhaps, I hope, within your work. And this is really what gives the economy as a whole, the market, and especially in Europe, for example, a great benefit. The interoperability of things, the safety, the high quality, the trust that consumers place in the technical developments. I think it's very important. So yeah, so basically just start thinking about it. How would you agree on it? Maybe start discussing amongst yourselves. You are already also working with different systems. How would you come to a process of consensus technically?
Yeah, Jeroen, to add on that, I think among you, the university teams have a big opportunity actually to make a decision about what's the most feasible way to have a large-scale Hyperloop solution. And I think that should be that could be a next logical step to do when considering the sustainability development goals. Now is the time to act, and I think this is a strong signal also to local governments to take that and spin the wheel.
You can already start if you really find these solutions that Sander and I and everyone here will seek. You can publish it, make it known to the companies that work also on standardization. Really bring this information out there, because a lot of this innovation relies on things that happen in universities, but also in student teams working on this kind of projects.
Now, well, I was thinking out loud even. I believe it started with the competition of Elon Musk, so to say. So he said, I have a tube. Inside the tube we have a frame, and then you have to put your pot on it. So he only gave one opportunity for the infrastructure. Now, which we have just discussed, we have several opportunities. So we have the opportunity to put the power into the pot, but we also have the opportunity to put the power into the tube. We have the opportunity to go with maglev, or we have the opportunity to not go with maglev. We have the opportunity to put the power on top of the tube or on the bottom. So coming back to what student teams could do, is that I think if you have we started with only one possibility, the tube of Elon Musk. Now we have a range of 4, 5, 6 different possibilities, which can all interact with each other. So you come up with too much solutions now already. So I would think, I'm not an expert to that, but I would think you can spend 1 or 2 days during the Hyperloop week while you are discussing in Delft to see how can we more or less frame that to, and I think Jeroen's organization is having much more experts on doing that. How can we get back to 4 or 5 different systems where we can work on? Or can we make one solution which fits all 5 of those solutions? It would be I think a very interesting 1 or 2 days to have the discussion about that with the student teams, and then being helped by the experts of Jeroen's company, for example.
Yeah, the ESW for sure is an opportunity to talk about it, debate about it, and also to show if it really works, the purpose of different teams that are working on infrastructure. And regarding what you have said, Ben, there is a question more or less related from Dean. He's asking that when we are talking about standardization, the infrastructure, should we focus on infrastructure that we just choose one design and everybody works with that design, or we should try to focus on infrastructure that allows different type of designs, including, for example, an infrastructure that maybe allows to use maglev and a hanging vehicle, more versatile, say, in a way, in this process of standardization. Oh, you are in mute, Ben.
Sorry, there will not be one solution. I think there will be, depending on the range. I really believe that depending on the range where you are, is it like 100 kilometers, is it 500, or is it 1,000 or more? You will need different solutions. So will it be from town to town, high density? I think there will be some characteristics which will go to typological, to 3, 4 different types of systems which you can use, which we all call Hyperloop, and the client, the passenger, doesn't care if it's on top or on the bottom, but there will be a few solutions possible depending, I believe, on the range and timing of your mode of Hyperloop. It's what I think.
Yeah, Ben, I fully agree with that. You need to also, from life cycle perception, you need to reduce the amount of variations. That's a significant benefit in life cycle management. Throughout the utilization of this infrastructure.
Sometimes it's difficult to arrive to a common point, but sometimes it's necessary if we want to standardize. But yeah, I think that sometimes it's difficult to see the balance when we are developing that part. And Rudvik has made a really good question. It's correlated that we can imagine that we have a really nice infrastructure, is economical viable, is really nice technically, but we need to cut down a lot of trees, and it has a great impact on the ecosystem, on the nature itself. We have to, should we consider these aspects when we are talking about infrastructure in landscape, when we are implementing this infrastructure? How much importance should we give to this infrastructure, to this aspect, in developing infrastructure? Maybe Garen, if you want to start.
Sure. Yeah, that's, if you cut down a complete forest for 500 kilometers, the question arises, how sustainable is that if you want to become more sustainable than planes, for example? So it's very important to use existing infrastructure as much as possible to limit this, and really to think about not polluting the environment a lot in this. The same goes, of course, for the infrastructure itself. What materials do you use to develop this? And there's a lot of steel going in the tubes. How can you minimize the CO2 print of the tube itself? These are very important questions where we are waiting for your innovations.
Yeah, fully agree. A lot of industries are being involved, of course, when building such an infrastructure. Luckily, there are a lot of initiatives in Europe where also those industries are developing and already acting towards a climate neutral way of producing materials, or have a zero emission logistic for infrastructure projects. It's very much important to look from a good ecological point of view. It can be worthwhile to cut down a forest to have a solution which goes beyond generation, and stop with polluting the atmosphere. And of course, you need to plant some new trees as well. That might be obvious.
Yeah, I agree with both speakers. So it's, and I even think you can really the last 10, 20 years we did so much research on this. So I think you can really calculate the answer. How many trees, what will it do to have a much more environmental friendly product like the Hyperloop, and replace a lot of flights for that. So even if we go to electrical planes, etc., I still think you can do a lot of calculations on having the right answer.
Yeah, imagine developing a completely ecological transport and then cut down all the trees. It will be something really terrible. So for sure we have to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And something also really interesting that Trevor is asking is that, well, I'm going to read completely the question. What do you foresee as the biggest difference between the future implementation of Hyperloop infrastructure and the historical implementation of other infrastructure projects such as rail, telecom? What are the unique obstacles that we have to overcome when we are developing Hyperloop that these previous modes maybe they didn't face? Really deep question about the implementation of Hyperloop.
Maybe I didn't get the full question, but the first part, what would be a main difference is perhaps the speed and how you deal with that going around in corners.
Yeah, the speed for sure. I think that is a critical point. Well, sometimes we think that the Hyperloop was something that it was created too soon, or it was invented too soon, and we didn't have all the things to implement it. So for sure. Other question regarding this speed and these conditions. Jose Angel is asking that regarding the pressure inside the infrastructure, will you follow any criteria requiring the need to warranty vacuum, or just a very low pressure will be enough to standardize Hyperloop? Ben, if you want to answer.
I'm an electrical engineer. I can't answer.
Oh.
No, what I do know is for testing so far, they were using because I think they 0.5 bars was being because you will never have a full compression. So that's what I've heard about. I do see some problems over there because you need a lot of technological systems to make sure that over 1,000 kilometers you keep that pressure the same. I know it will be by parts, by departments, but if you allow me, Maria, then I would like to answer the previous question also a little bit, because
yep.
I used to work some time ago for Siemens, where we, with a consortium, believed that we could build the so-called Zuiderzee line, which goes from Amsterdam to Groningen, with a maglev system. And we spent a lot of work on that. And the reason it was a perfect solution to come from where you want to go to where you live. So from Amsterdam to Groningen, it was technically seen, it was perfect. And we worked with a lot of engineers on that. I was working on the power part of that system, and we were so happy. We were like the Apollo 1 team, putting the man on the moon, and we said we bring a man to Groningen, you know, and we came up with all the perfect solutions, and there was no answer wrong, and still we haven't won. And the reason we didn't won is because we were so proud on our infrastructure that everywhere, on every book we wrote about it, on every presentation we gave, you saw this very big 2 lines in the green fields in the polder, the green fields in the Netherlands. And that's exactly where it went wrong, because people don't want to have it in their backyards. We were so proud on it that we put it 3, 4, 5 meters up in the air, even on places where it was absolutely not necessary, because we were so proud of our technology. And we only took the technology as the solution, but you have to look much more to the environment and how much does it fit into the environment. And can you get the people around it who want to have it believe in your system so hard that they want to integrate it in their environment? I think that is so very important.
Yes.
That's my lesson from 20 years ago.
When we are so proud of something, sometimes we don't think about that something can go wrong.
When the car was becoming popular, it actually took a lot of marketing to get it like as the main form of transportation instead of trains, instead of there's a big marketing part as well. Yeah, because what we accept now as the car as normal in all the parking lots and all the highways, you need to create the will to do that. And there were some very smart companies in the beginning when the car industry was starting, who could do exactly that. They had these giant posters, and you see like a traffic jam because there is a train running through, and then the train is the old and the cars are the new, and it's blocking the new way. This marketing, good that you bring that up.
A lot of good ideas didn't came up because we didn't do good marketing. So I think that, yeah, it's completely necessary to know how to sell your idea. And also regarding where to put the tube and everything, Jan is asking that, well, he said, I would expect that going underground will fit the Hyperloop concept best. Is this being considered? I guess we are considering, I don't know, but what do you think about, is this the best way to implement Hyperloop underground? Maybe Sander, you want to, or Ben?
Well, what I do know from projects, infrastructure projects, which goes underground, they are quite expensive. So that's of course a challenge to overcome. So when you go, when you decide to go underground, I think it's wise to make a selection of areas where you need to do so. And in areas where you can't do so, or where it's too expensive, try to see if you can find some important stakeholders for that. Like we are all into renewable energy. If you have a big infrastructure pipeline, there's a huge renewable energy potential which you have there as well. So that's also something you could consider, making those infrastructure parts more attractive to for the public opinion.
Yeah, it very much depends on the soil you're building up or under, where if it could be a good solution. I think that's exactly where it stopped a little bit in America with SpaceX, because they wanted to put everything underground as well. And I even saw a presentation of Elon Musk's company called the Boring Company, talking about marketing. You know, it's a brilliant name. So if there's somebody on marketing, this person is called Elon Musk, I guess. So I would take a sneak preview on how the Boring Company is doing and where they are doing the business, and I should say follow them, because they know what they are doing.
Yeah, I agree with both speakers here. Maybe the main conclusion is it depends, and how expensive it is going under the ground, considering different kind of soils, because maybe what they're doing in Las Vegas, I believe, with the Boring Company, might not be so suitable in the Dutch west side of the country. Totally different soil types. But what you also see now with train systems, sometimes they go underground when they're nearing a city center, because using the space close to the city center is much more expensive, and there you can have a benefit going underground. So you can still build houses on top, which are very costly in the Netherlands.
Yeah, it's obvious that going underground or going in the air is something that we have to face, and we are going to start thinking about that problematic, where to physically put the tube. And so we have been near an hour debating. I think that it would be nice to close the event if you can give us a final advice or a final conclusion or thought that you came up about standardization Hyperloop, the importance of the infrastructure in standardization Hyperloop from your point of view, from your company's point of view, and also well applicable to the Hyperloop teams that are here seeing the event and that are going to also develop some ideas for the competition. So maybe Sander, you want to start?
My biggest my priority points would be that in terms of standardization, that you as a group of European universities have a big opportunity to find a few formats which are the lead for the next iterations in the concept. I think this is the momentum to make some decisions, and as one team continue.
Jero and Ben, who wants to be the next one?
Okay, then I'll my advice is very simple. Please continue, because I think it's so very important that you developing Hyperloop IDs. I also think it's very, very important to continue in a competition mode. So what you are doing with the European Hyperloop Week is very good, because you need the competition to every time try to win, so to develop new technology. And I already saw that in the last 5 years that technology which you develop, you need so much sensors, you need fast computers, because everything goes much faster. Then that you need the new technology, power system, control systems, which we are going to use in our new trains, metros, small hyperloops of the future. So please go on, because your technology will be used. If it is in Hyperloop or not, it will be used, I'm absolutely sure. So please go on.
We will, for sure.
I think the most important things have been said in that case. Don't really underestimate yourself, what you can do by really doing this innovation type of work. A lot of positive spillover effects will occur, and you will contribute much more than you may think. It's really a lot of times companies they don't want to spend the time on it, and really taking this gap year and spending the time on it can bring you much further than all these companies which have dozens of different responsibilities and need to do things they always did because they have to deliver. And you can really have this opportunity to think further and gain one step in innovation.
Well, thank you so much for the presentation, for the debate, for the advice. I think that it's incredible to have the opportunity to talk with you, and also to make understand ourselves that from university we can also innovate, we can also develop, and of course we can also implement in collaboration with your entities something as bigger and as important as Hyperloop. So again, thank you. If you want to add anything more, you are welcome. And if not, I think that we can close here the event. It has been a pleasure, and thank you so much. Have a nice day or night.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you. The same. Bye-bye.
Thanks to everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.